Oops.
On Friday,
Yeah.
since we have like, was it like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or something for our periods? Are we not gonna have to do anything since you like to keep our classes like equal in
Oh,
the
we'll do
first
something. Don't
class?
worry about that. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. Worry about that when we get to it. Watch this. Here's an X and Y axis. Do you remember that? Sure you do. Look at this. What if I put a line? We've started now, ladies. Put a line right here, and this line has a certain steepness to it, doesn't it? All right, so that's exactly what we're talking about. When we talk about how long, or not how long, but when we talk about how steep a line is, we talk about the slope of the line. This is stuff that you did in Algebra 1, all right? It's nothing, you probably did this before Algebra 1, all right? But that's okay. We're doing it again. And you'll do this again in Algebra 2 as well, all right? Did you guys, have you done this already in Algebra 2? You're doing it right now? Okay. So we're going to talk about the slope of a line. The slope of a line is how steep that line is. Okay, now how do we figure out how steep it is? Well, I'll show you. Watch. It's a comparison, basically. It's a comparison to how high up you go compared to how far across you go. So watch. How high up you go to get from one point to the other. And compared to, there we go. Pretend it's straight, okay? Yeah, you wouldn't laugh if you tried it. It's not that easy. All right. So anyway, so what I'm trying to do is I'm comparing how far you go up to how far you go across. Now think about this. As this is smaller and smaller, then this gets longer and longer. What happens to your line? Does it get steeper? Does it get flatter?
Steep.
Watch. If I had like this, okay, then it's little short and long. You get the idea. I'll dot it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, go ahead and laugh all you want. All right, so I'm not even gonna try this now. You're making fun of me. Watch. If you just go up a little bit and you go to the right, then it's flatter, isn't it? Watch. What happens to this line as it goes like this? What happens? Yeah, look, this gets bigger and this gets shorter, doesn't it? Okay, so the steeper it gets, the bigger the y is and the smaller the x is. You with me? And the flatter your line gets, like this, then the smaller your y and the larger your x. You get it? Okay. So let's talk about this for a quick second. We'll just call this the y1 and the y2 because this is going up and down, isn't it? All right, that's our distance. This is where a point would be right here and right here. And then we would call this like the x1 and the x2. Is that all right? To go from here to here. So what we're going to do, you remember this probably with the r's. If you go up, we had a word for that.
Rise.
The rise.
Over the run.
Whoops. Right. The rise over the run. All right, that's a nice, easy way for us to remember it. Rise over run. But let me show you a better way. I don't know if it's better, but it's another way. We talk about the change in the y's right here, okay? The difference, you could say the difference in the y's. Now remember, it's rise over run. It's the up and down. It's the y's are going to be on top and the x's are going to be on the bottom. Do you see that? So it's the change in the y's. Here's a little symbol for you. We're not going to talk a whole lot about it, right? But it's a little, looks like a triangle, and that's a Greek letter of the alphabet called delta. That's right. That means the change in something. In math, they love Greek letters, and they use a lot of these Greek letters in math to represent certain little phrases that we use all the time that we don't have to write it down. It's a lot easier writing a little triangle, a little delta, instead of saying the change in something. Would you agree with that? So we just have to remember what it means, okay? So it's the change in y over, what do you think? The change in x. All right? That's how we write it a lot. I just want to show you because you'll see stuff like that periodically. Now, if I find the change from here to here, what do I do to find that distance from here to here? What do I do to those two numbers, those two y's? Subtract them. That's right. I subtract them from each other. So, I'll tell you this y right here Kind of looks like it's part of what I'm doing, and it's really not. Okay. So watch. If I wanted to find the change in y, remember early we talked about going on the road. Remember the road trip and the mile markers, a 2-mile marker, an 8-mile marker. What's the distance between them? It would be 6. What'd you do? You subtract it, okay? That's the change in the distance. So the change in the y's would be y1 minus y2. It doesn't matter what order you subtract them in. If you look in the book might say y2 minus y1. For some reason, the books love to say that. I don't know why, but they do. I like to just keep it in order. y1 minus y2. Well, what do you think the x is going to be? x1 minus x2. Right. All right, you with me on that?
Oh yeah, we learned all these in this one.
Yep. So, right, this is stuff, this is not new. I didn't think it would be new. It's just review, so I'm going to go kind of quick. So that's what the slope is. So the slope is the change in y or the change in x. I might say that from time to time. You need to know what I'm talking about. What does it mean by the change in? It means you subtract the 2 points, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be just the endpoints. Look, if I went just from here to here, did you realize that if I took that distance, divided it by that distance, it's going to be the exact same number? They're all proportional, okay? So it doesn't matter. Because is it any steeper up here than it is down here? No, it's not any more steep, is it? It's just this, it's the same level of steepness. So I could take any points on that line and go from one point to the other, right? As long as those points lie on that line, and I can find the slope of it. The slope's not going to be any different on that whole entire line. You get it? So I don't have to start at one endpoint to another endpoint. I could have taken a point from here to here, and the rise over the run is going to be the exact same thing. It's the ratio. Now these are different rises and different runs. Do you see it? They're smaller, but it'll all reduce to the same exact number. Right? And that's the slope. That's how you do it. Pretty easy, right? Let's go over a couple things like this. I'll change colors. Whoops. Watch this. What if we already did one like this. I'll make it a little bit more obvious. If we had a slope like this, I'm talking about whether these lines are positive or negative. These slopes, I should say, are positive or negative slopes. Well, let's think about it. If I wanted to go from the bottom to the top, it doesn't matter. You can go from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom. Let's go from top to bottom. If I wanted to go from this point here to this point here, how would I get there? I would go rise. But which way did I rise? I rose down. I went down. Which way is that? That's negative. And then I run, what? Negative. What's negative over negative?
Positive.
Positive. So your slope is the change in y, which is negative, over the change in x, which is negative, which is what? Positive. This is a positive slope. All right, you'll really laugh at this. This is my car. Well, that looks like a rocket or something, doesn't it? I'm telling you, I was never any good at art, as you can tell. So anyway, so that's a car. It looks like my old minivan, my Chevy Lumina, which I loved, and it broke down. I was in the parking lot one time, and I put it in gear, and it just went clonk, and it wouldn't go anymore. So I had to call the AAA, and they came and towed it away, and it was the transmission. It was going to cost all these thousands of dollars. So that was my last minivan. I loved a minivan. Yeah, anybody have a minivan? I love them. Some guys are like, some guys are like, I would never be caught dead in a minivan. I loved it because you sit up high, you got all this room. I used to go kayaking, whitewater kayaking, and we would just chuck our kayaks right inside the van. Didn't have to hook them up to the top like we used to with cars. Oh, it was great. I loved it. We used to get changed in the minivan. Well, not together, but one guy would change outside, and I had tinted windows, so you could get changed in there when you go kayaking and stuff. And that was always nice. But so minivans were cool. So that's my minivan. So watch. If you're going from left to right, are you going up or down the hill? You're going up the hill. So this is what? Positive slope. If you had a slope like this, then here's your cool minivan. You just went kayaking. And what are you doing? You're going what? You're going down the hill. Why? Because look, it's rise, which is negative. I went from top to bottom, okay? This would be negative, right? And this would be what? To the right would be positive. What's negative over positive? It's negative. So this is a negative slope, and this is a what? Positive slope. What if you had a slope going this way?
No slope.
Right, this is no slope. Actually, I lied. It's not no slope. Watch. Let's think about it. How it's rise over run, right? How far do you rise to get from this point to this point?
0.
0. Over, how far did you run?
It's zeros.
No, you ran over a certain distance, whatever it was. Let's say x, okay? What's 0 over anything?
0.
It's 0. Put it in a calculator. 0 divided by any number at all is going to be 0. So what is this? This is 0 slope. That's different than no slope.
Oh, no slope is up.
Okay? 0 slope. I didn't say this in the first class, but I'll say it now. 0 slope is like if you're going skiing and you're on a flat surface, right? When you first get out there, it's completely flat before you get to a hill. That's 0 slope. If I just stand there, nobody pushes me or anything, I just stand there, how fast am I going to go? I'm going to go 0, all right? If there's no hill to it at all, it's completely level, okay, horizontal, then that's 0 slope. But let's say I get to the very top, all right? And I'm looking. This is me. Boom, boom, boom. And there's my skis. All right. So those are my skis, and there's my arms up in the air. All right. Now watch. Now look, I'm a decent skier. All right. I'm pretty decent at skiing. I can go. Listen to me while I tell my story, please. Let's not interrupt me. Are we listening? All right. I'm a decent skier, and I go skiing maybe once or twice a year if I'm lucky. All right, but I always go to the biggest hills. Every time I go to the biggest, the black diamonds, double black diamonds, and I've gone down the biggest hills. I may not go the fastest down the biggest hills, but I go pretty quick. I move down pretty good. All right, but would I ever?
Teachers, please excuse this interruption just for a brief announcement. Just a reminder to sophomores and seniors that Jostens will be here tomorrow beginning at 7:45 to take graduation orders as well as class ring orders. So if you want to purchase any of those things, remember the minimum deposit is $60. Thank you.
All right, look, I've gone to some pretty decent hills. I haven't gone to like Colorado or Vermont or anything, but I've done the Pocono, and places like that, and they still got some pretty decent hills there. But as many in Canada, I skied in Canada. This big old place, Mont Tremblant. You ever hear that? Didn't I sound French when I said that? It's near Montreal. It's actually about 45 minutes north of Montreal. So anyway, you never, ever, ever see a ski slope and then say, okay, here it is. This is a slope. Okay, that doesn't exist, does it? It does not exist. You hear what I'm saying? This slope doesn't exist. In fact, this is what? No slope. It's not 0 slope. 0 slope is something. 0 is a number. It is something. This is no slope. Sometimes they say it's undefined. Why is it no slope? Well, let's get from one point to the other. Rise over run. How far do I rise to get from here to here? Whatever. Y. Okay, we'll use Y since we're going up and down. How far do I run once I get here? 0. Somebody put that in a calculator. Anything divided by 0, it's what? Is it 0? Try it. Put any number at all divided by 0. It says error on your calculator because this is undefined. It doesn't exist. Okay, this kind of slope right here does not exist no matter where you go. You can go to Switzerland on the biggest slope in the world, and it's never a vertical slope. You can't go down a vertical slope, okay? That would be called skydiving then, okay? Or base jumping. So it would not be skiing, all right? You would not be touching the side of the mountain if it was vertical, okay? All right, let's not be silly. We've already heard the comments. Let's just continue with this. My point is this. Listen. My point is that you understand that this is no slope and this is 0 slope. Does that make sense? All right. And that's it. So you know what positive is, you know what negative is, you know 0, and you know no slope. And that is about all I've got for you.
Really?
Really?
What about that?
Really? Okay.
We didn't. Actually, I've got 10 minutes. Let's do a little bit more. This is where we ended up in the other class because they had. Oh, I do. I gotta change that. Yeah, let's stop this and go to another one.